Welcome to the Intuitive Therapist Podcast with Janis Cohen, therapist, clairvoyant, empath, and medium. Listen in as she takes a no-nonsense deep dive into real human struggles and how to resolve them. Janis will share channeled information from her spirit guide team, as well as the angels and archangels, to help you master your emotional, physical, financial, and spiritual destiny. And now, Janis R. Cohen.
Hey y'all, this is Janis Cohen, the Intuitive Therapist, here on the Intuitive Therapist Podcast. Welcome to another week. I wanted to make an episode about what's going on in everybody's life right now around the coronavirus. I know there's a lot of information about there, a lot of offerings and suggestions about how to understand what's going on and what to do. But I want to offer, how do I say this, kind of like an insider's understanding into why all of this is happening. I'm not coming from any kind of political place. I'm not coming from any other place other than what I've downloaded. And so I want to share that with you today because let's face it, these are not only trying times, but also times where we have been forced to change how we live and relate to others. These times have also forced us to deal with ourselves, and I want to talk about the upside of sheltering in place. You know, just as well as I do, that unless we intentionally choose to self-focus, we let our days get eaten up with work, parental responsibilities, and the hundreds of other things that occupy our bodies and minds. Right? Truth is that the coronavirus is a game changer for everybody. It has wreaked havoc on thousands of people's lives all over the world, millions of people's lives. Tragedy has taken hold and thousands upon thousands, more than we could possibly know, have died. Many, many, many thousands are struggling to recover. And everyone else is trying to dodge the bullet and stay safe and healthy to the best of their ability. How does anybody wrap their head around this life changer of a disease and come out better on the other side? That's what today's episode is about. Using this time to come out on the other side, scathed, but better. To be honest, I'm truly grateful that so many of us are moving through this time without illness. My heart hurts for all of those people who have lost loved ones. I could not imagine losing somebody and not being able to bury them or see them or hug them as they pass. It's just horrible. And there's so many people who are in ill health, struggling to regain their health. These thoughts about all of these people, I promise you, are not lost in this message today. But I do want to paint a different angle, paint a different picture, come from a different place for you to think about a more positive perception for you. Listen, these really are tough times. I don't have to tell y'all that. If I handed around a microphone, everybody'd say, this fucking sucks. This is so hard. It is hard. That is the truth. But you have a choice. As always, with how you use this time and how you perceive it, and how difficult you make it for yourself. In the midst of the financial fallout for millions of us, I urge you to know that this is temporary. It's a hard hit. Hard. We are all feeling it. But we're going to come out of this on the other side, and we will again make the money we need to make, pay our bills, support our families. It's just so damn hard to imagine that right now, isn't it? But I want you to. I want you to hold on to what is on the other side of this, even though you don't know. I want to urge you to focus on what's possible in spite of the bullshit that we're going through. I was recently speaking with a friend via Zoom, which I love. You know, that's the next best thing. And he asked me what I tell people when they call me seeking wisdom and advice and emotional support during this time. Trust me, I have a lot of people call because they can't make sense of this. They're scared. They don't know what to do. They don't know which direction to go, and they don't have anybody to support them. So here's what I say. And I hope that if you're one of these people that feels alone, scared, lost, I hope today will help you. I say we are all experiencing an upgrade in every type of way, an energetic soul upgrade. I promise you this is happening because I have connected with my guides about this. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Why are we going through this? We are in the ascension process energetically of raising the vibration of this world because it's necessary. We are moving from 3D living to 5D living, which is a massive jump, massive expansion of our souls and who we are. We have all been forced to slow down, to relate and connect with the people in our lives more and more realistically. Shit's hitting the fan that you haven't looked at. There are people whose relationships are getting deeper, better, more profound, growing. And then there were people whose relationships with other people, they're finally coming to an end. It's time. Shit's blowing up, and you realize that what you've been putting up with for 6 months, 5 years, 20 years, you just don't want anymore. Like, you're done. Each and every one of us is taking inventory of our lives, how we live it, what we truly value, how we care for our bodies and our minds and our spirits. We are being forced to stop and take advantage of the only thing that we truly have influence over, ourselves, and what is happening right in this moment. I am not trying to plant a flowery picture of life right now. Please do not think that I'm being all woo, woo, woo when I know people are fucking struggling. They're out on their ass. They've lost their homes. They've lost their jobs. They can't get food. They can't feed their family. They have no direction. Their life was how they were living it. They have no other means of support. It is scary as shit. But in spite of that, all those very human struggles, humanity, is experiencing an upgrade that has been very intentional. No other time in our lives have we been forced to stay in place. We have needed this as a race, as a human race, for a very long time. And it took this to make it happen. Had this epidemic not happen, we'd all be doing the same damn things that we've been doing. Coasting through life, believing that we've got control over our lives and our futures are planned out. Now, not everybody lives that way, just kind of like coasting, but many of us do. We lose sight of having value each day in our lives. And some make sure they have value in their lives every day. Clearly, this experience has shown us, at the very least, that life can radically change in a moment, and that it's best that we learn how to be in the here and now, not in the past, a place that offers us no fixing, and not in the future, where we build up a tall pillar of stacked up worries, of which we also can do nothing about. Sure, you can plan, but we all know what happens when we do that. You plan and God laughs. Each of us is being humbled, and each of us is being called to the table to take a deep dive in the reevaluation of our lives. There's nothing else to do but to do that right now. Nothing. Because when you stop the cocktail hour, when you stop eating, when you need to go to sleep, guess what? You're left with your own mind. You will inevitably be thinking about how you are going to live your life and how you're living it now. I urge you not to be scared, though, about what's going to happen. Listen, in different times in your life, you've been in this exact crossroads. It just looked different, and perhaps hasn't been as transparent as circumstances are right now. Most often, you and I have felt alone in our climb up the steep mountain to reestablish the balance in our lives. We've all been there. But now, the collective, we're not alone anymore. We turn to our left, to our right, we look forward, we look back. Every fucking person in this world is going through it. Even though we feel we're going through our own pain, everybody else is too. We are all experiencing this. And in my mind, it is amazing. Look, just because there are people who aren't, we think about the upper echelon, that people have a lot of money. Just because they don't have a money worry doesn't mean that, their asses are at home with their spouse. And maybe they can't stand their spouse. So they're having to reevaluate their relationships. They're having to figure out how they stay sane with somebody who they have tolerated for whatever payoff. At least they've been. I have a friend of mine who's been in a marriage. I know lots of people who've been in marriages when they really needed to get out, but he stayed in the marriage because of his son. He never wanted to have his son experience a split family. But he is married to a woman who, he knows it's not right. And he's been miserable, unhappy. And he can no longer travel for work, which is how he was able to stay in the marriage. He wouldn't be home very often. And so now he's home. And he's realizing so much of what he didn't see. And so this is his crossroads. What does he do? And we were talking about that, and I, gave him some perspective about how he could work on himself and to see what happened. So many people have picked up hobbies that they've long laid down because too many other things have prevented them from taking time to do them. So many people have had to learn how to relate better or worse to those people who are closest to them. We've all had to look at who we are in relation to everything and everyone else during this time. That's been the whole purpose. How compassionate are you being? How giving or selfish are you being? How loving or rejecting are you being? How much have you let go of so that you can be in the present? What have you finally surrendered to and given and let go of? And what are you holding on too tightly still now? We all have so much freaking time on our hands to truly make who we are better. A better friend, a better partner, a better sibling, a better parent, a better profession, a better self. Our limitations are being challenged like no other at this time. We're being forced to look at where we are intolerant, of what things we are intolerant, and what we want more in our lives. Everything is being tested, especially our faith in what we don't know. Parents are having to homeschool their kids, and they're going nuts. So not so much because they don't know what they're teaching, which is true, y'all. It's a whole different ballgame now than when we were coming up. But it's just difficult. Teaching's difficult. And you got kids who aren't compliant and who are struggling themselves to figure out how to navigate all of this. And some people are without partners and they're doing everything on their own and everything is compounded. And some people have partners and things are okay. But then other parts of their lives, they're like, oh, good God, now I'm finally seeing this. We all have all this time on our hands to truly make who we are better. It's okay to stop pushing and to resign yourself to life forever being changed. That's not a bad thing. It's okay to sleep in a bit some days, to cry a little bit more on some days, to really think about your life and how you want it to be once we're given the okay to resume our lives in the ways we did before. It's okay. I ask you to begin to imagine what you'll do differently once we're all permitted to be around each other again? Who will you be that will make this world a better place? How are you using this time to not just pass it, but to be living in it? What decisions will you make that will uplevel the quality of your life? Will you finally leave that dead-end relationship that you've stayed in for some justified reason that's socially acceptable, but you've been dying a bit every day? Will you go back to school and get that degree that you've always wanted to finish, but the one that you kept making excuses for not finishing before this happened? Will you write that book, start that business, that podcast, buy that house? Will you make sure that you create more joy in your life? Will you use your life for the greater good instead of hoarding everything for yourself? What are you doing with your time now? How are you paying attention to the shit that you've ignored about yourself? That's perhaps the hardest part about these times. You are forced to look at yourself. Are you trying to deal with the demons that live wildly inside you, but you try to keep them contained? They keep cropping up, huh? Are you trying to repair your troubled relationships? What are you using this time for? I ask you to be intentional about this. Don't take this time for granted to only grow sicker with worry about the future that you can do nothing about. There is a great deal of uncertainty outside of you. There always will be. Always, always, always will be. But the truth is that when you cultivate a good and trusting relationship with yourself, your worry about the future changes. It becomes something that you will face when you get there, and you'll be in the habit of developing a plan to address whatever you need to deal with. You end up becoming self-sufficient, self-reliant, self-worthy. This is so good for you to work on. How can you become more self-certain? Use this time to read a new book, learn a new hobby, begin a journal, and work through the shit that's coming up. Begin an exercise routine that you know you've needed to do, but you come up with all sorts of excuses. Change your lifestyle in some way to reflect the gift of growth that you are experiencing now. And if you've taken the time to look at yourself, the places that you keep revisiting that cause you heartache, the emotions that you don't want to deal with, the relationships that you avoid dealing with, and anything else that is standing right in front of you to deal with, you had better take the time to address that shit now. Right now. You would be a fool to act as though now is not the time. You are being forced to stay at home. What bigger sign do you need than that? Many people have reached out to me for help during this time, and they've invested and worked with me because they know that the time is now to make the changes that they want to make, that they need to make. They know that if they get right with themselves right now, they can change their lives massively when we get the thumbs up to get out there and do it. I hope you aren't pretending that you aren't the root cause of your own shit. You've heard me talk about this for so long. And look, yes, there are things outside of us that we can't control, influences beyond us that are wreaking havoc on our lives. You are the root to how you come out of this. You. Nobody else. We all are. And those of us who've worked on ourselves for years, like me, we still have our shit that we need to deal with. Don't ever think that some expert who talks about how to better your life or whatever doesn't have their own shit to still deal with. And if they act like they don't, and if they tell you they don't, they're lying. They're lying. And I would suggest that you unfollow them. We all do. I know I do. Shit's come up some days and I am laid out. I am laid out because of stuff that I haven't dealt with. But here's the thing. I have committed to myself that I'm not going to sit in my shit. Like, I'll have emotions about it. I'll feel it. And my default setting has become, okay, now what do I do to work with this to be better? I can't stand to be around myself some days. Honest to God. I promise you. I guarantee you I'm not the only one that talks to myself. I do. I'm not saying I'm hallucinatory, but I have conversations with myself. I'm not talking to anybody else. I bet you do too. And I know I'm not crazy. I just have taught myself through it. Because there's certain things that I can't really work out with other people because they're not ready to, they're not open to. So I have to chew on it. I obsess over it until I'm done. And then I'm able to have some clarity about it. So yeah, I get tired of talking to myself. The darkness comes into my head, and honest to God, I just want to go away too. But if I ignore what is coming into my awareness, I am the only one that suffers. And of course, that reverberates into every other part of my life. And I don't want that life anymore. I've been there. I don't want it. If I have an opportunity to fix something, I'm damn sure going to fix it. So maybe I'll write about it in my journal. I have like so many journals in my house. And I look back and realize all the different struggles that I've been through, all the prayer that I've prayed, desperation that I've had, good moments that I've had too. Or I'll call somebody I know who isn't going to tell me what I want to hear, but somebody who will tell me what I need to hear to help me regain a healthy perspective. Because the people that know me in my life, they know that I am intense. And they know that I feel things very, very deeply. And that there are times where I get overwhelmed. And I just need somebody to, kind of take me by the shoulder and say, girl, shh, listen, you got this. And here's a way to think about it. I always make moves to help me find peace. Always, always, always. Because I refuse to be in pain. Refuse. I'm sending you love, honestly, and wishes that you and your family remain safe and healthy during this time. I'm also sending you an urgent message to use this time to deal with your shit so you can live a more peaceful life than ever when it's time to reconnect with society. Please deal with your stuff. If you need help, reach out. But work through it. I guarantee that there's going to be amazing, like when you think about this time, people laugh because they're like, yep, there'll be a lot of babies born in 9 months. There're going to be a lot of divorces. There're going to be a lot of marriages. And there's going to be a lot of amazing ideas are going to come out of this. We are given this time to kind of brew. So many amazing ideas are going to come out. They're going to make this world a better place to help others live easier, more peaceful lives and be better. We're going to come out of this in different places, y'all. And that is completely okay. This is what was supposed to happen. So the question I have to you is, how will you nail your landing? I wish you a blessed day, a wonderful week, and as always, live intuitively.
Thanks for listening to The Intuitive Therapist. If you like what you heard, the best compliment you can give us is to share this podcast with a friend. And be sure to give us some stars and a favorable review at Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen in.